Hi, Crystal. How are you?
Hey, Jevon, how are you? It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a while. Thanks for joining me again. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
I'm glad to be here. It's
Yeah.
an honor.
So, yeah. And, we have a pretty interesting show here on Conversations on the Patio. I forget those ums. I
Well,
was thinking about,
first, since we just got back, we got to tell everybody that we are glad to be back. And it's
we
been a
did.
little while since we've been here. And it's been a while since I've seen you. So, how has everything been?
Crystal, thank you for asking. It has been absolutely fantastic. Just to make sure you know, and everyone that's watching knows, I had some compliance issues. We switched broker dealers, and those are the folks that actually pay me to do my job. And they are extremely cognizant of the things that I say and the way that I use my equipment. So I had to work through all of that. And that took a while. It took a lot longer than I thought it was, mainly because I'm not a computer savvy person, but also because I wasn't sure exactly what the way things were going out. So we had to get some disclaimers out there, which we're going to put on the show when we actually broadcast it, and we had to uh, make sure that everything was just up and up. The commentary is going to be the same, but we're just going to make sure that we have the disclaimers really. So it'll be the same personality. And I have to tell you that I went to DC, which was amazing. I saw a bunch of the monuments there. A lot of it was shut down, but we got to see the Washington Monument. Of course, that's outside, but we got to see the Lincoln Memorial, FDR, Martin Luther King. It was absolutely amazing. I think every American ought to do that. How about you? Where did you go?
Well, I absolutely love Washington D.C. I have a cousin that lives there, so I visit frequently, and I'm glad you had a fantastic time. For me, just been super busy making sure our community gets everything that they need to have in the manner of dealing with the pandemic. I celebrated a birthday on Saturday, and
Really?
yes, I did.
Oh, I
So,
didn't even get to say happy birthday. Well,
well, it's only
congratulations and happy birthday.
thank
So
you. It's
you're
only the third
27
day.
now? You're
I am
27 now? Yeah,
at
good,
27.
good. 27. That's good.
It's a great age, and
Yeah, you've accomplished so much in such a short period of time.
I
That's
know it's just
amazing.
like I'm a prodigy. Started so early.
And I get to hang out with you. I think this is awesome. This is so
Yes, it
cool.
is. But guess
Yeah.
what? My birthday present was.
Oh, talk to me.
So on that day, I had to work. My children,
Oh,
the kids that I teach how to become business owners or how to
yeah.
start their own business,
Sure.
they were competing on Saturday,
Okay.
and there were 30 businesses. My kids were of that group of 30 businesses, 41 kids. They were between the ages
Mhm.
of 14 and 18,
Awesome.
and my kids swept the whole competition.
Really?
We took
Really?
first, second, third, and
Wow.
honorable mention
Wow. Wow.
out of
Congratulations.
30 businesses. We were just ecstatic. So that was the
Wow.
best birthday present I could have possibly had.
Even better than the cake and ice cream?
Even better than the cake and ice cream.
Wow. A
I
sign
had
of
a lot of
something.
cake and ice cream. Well, my friends all, so here's the deal. All my friends, when they found out it was my birthday, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, let's have a birthday party. And since
Yeah.
we're starting to open up after, and we've all had our vaccines, so
Yes.
so there was a party on Saturday, Friday. No, there was a party on Friday after the show, after the business zone, and then there was a
Okay.
party on Saturday
Okay.
with my girlfriends, and then
Okay.
on Sunday, I went to another little party with my tennis people, and then I came
Mm.
home and worked in the garden. So that
You've
was
been
my.
partying all
I was
the whole
partying
thing.
all
Just party,
weekend.
party.
Yeah,
I never took you for such a party animal.
I know, huh?
You're really, really going for it. Well, good for you. You only
And I
get,
will be in Orange County next weekend,
oh, no
partying as
way.
well. Hmm?
Really? Well,
Yeah,
can I get an invitation to that? Because you're
I
coming
will
down to
make
my neck of the ways there, my
I
neck of
will
the
make
woods.
sure. I think my
Cool.
girlfriend, my girlfriend that lives in Orange County,
Hmm.
they live in Newport. No, they live in Irvine, but we're going somewhere. Somebody Beak, Mozambique, or somebody
Oh,
in
Mozambique.
yeah,
Yeah, in
Mozambique.
Laguna
That's
Beach.
it.
Oh, it's a great place.
Yeah, so that's where we're going next Saturday. So if you would like to
Okay.
come,
I
I will
would.
make. Okay.
I would. They have a room down there that is my favorite that we have to go into. It's got the little pianos. We have to go in and have a cocktail there.
Okay. Well, I
I'll
guess
even let you choose the cocktail.
we're going to listen to music. They have
Well,
music there.
they have like two or three kinds of music actually. They've got some upstairs, which is really cool. Usually a dance band type of deal, and then they have some downstairs, which is more like that piano club jive,
Okay.
so um, I kind of hang out downstairs a little bit because then I get to
Okay.
talk to the bartenders. But I'll get up there and cheer you on out there on the floor
Okay, all right. Well,
upstairs.
I will clear it with I will make sure that we're going. We were supposed to go this Saturday and we
Okay.
just got all discombobulated, and by the time I
Yeah.
got done doing what I was doing, it was kind of too late. So,
Yeah.
would love to have you join in on the festivities.
I'd love to be there. That sounds amazingly fun.
Okay.
I've got a thing going on, but we can coordinate. That's fine.
We'll coordinate, but
Yeah.
that's
Beautiful.
what that has been what I have been doing in addition to teaching and speaking. But that you don't want to hear that. You want to hear the fun part, right? You want to make sure that I was a fun person. So there you have it.
Well, I know you're really involved in the community, and doing so many great things like that. And so now I think it's time that I read your bio, and hopefully I won't mess it up like I did sometimes last time.
Okay.
Okay, so please, everyone, allow me to welcome Crystal Mitchell. She's a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's the co director of Recycling Black Dollars. She's the co host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, a weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. She's also a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and she's a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Welcome, welcome, Crystal Mitchell.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here. And I am Jevon Thomas. I am a financial advisor, registered, and have all kinds of numbers and things after my name. So let's
All the
get
numbers.
letters and numbers. Yeah. So let's get started. So today's
Okay.
topic is um, different types of retirement plans. So I actually prompted Crystal to ask me, so Jevon, what kind of retirement plans are out there? But we'll just jump right in. And
Well, we can still do that because you know what, Jevon, it's kind of interesting. You know, last year, as friends of mine are calling it, the lost years, right? We had a lost year last year. And so everybody probably wasn't quite equipped for tax savings as they should have been, and then a lot of them weren't at work. So this is probably now that we're starting to open up. This is probably a good time to have this conversation. So, what type of financial retirement plans are out there for our guests, and the steps to getting there?
well, thank you. And funny you should ask that. so there are generally two kinds of retirement plans out there. And if I answer the question this way, I think you'll understand why it can be a wee bit complicated. So the first one let's talk about are unqualified plans. Those are plans that don't follow the body of law that we call ERISA, the employment ERISA insurance, retirement insurance something act there.
Okay.
that act, yes. Insurance, I think it's Retirement Securities Insurance Act. So
Okay.
Insurance and Securities Act. So that body of law actually governs retirement plans. That's what sets the laws, says who can get in there, when do you have to give money, that governs retirement plans. The non-qualified plans don't have to follow that, right? And so,
Mm.
and I don't even know when they even started because they've morphed into things that they didn't start out to be. And most of them are primarily insurance products. They don't have to be, but a lot of them you can use insurance products in. Okay. That's very different than what I normally focus on, which are the qualified space. All right, so I focus on 401ks, 403bs. These are plans that are governed by ERISA. And because of that, they
Mm-hmm.
have certain rules. The first rule, when it's governed by ERISA, is you have to own the plan on behalf of the participants. You have to operate the plan on behalf of the participants. And that's a big deal because usually it's the owners that buy the plan and are responsible for administrating the plan, but they have to do that with the participant in mind. Okay. And
Mm.
that gets people a little bit, but that's what you're supposed to do. The second is that you cannot discriminate against participants. You can't give one participant this and the other participant that.
Oh, okay.
Equally
So
distributed.
if the
Did you have a question?
it has to be, I don't know why this keeps happening, but hold on a second. I got to get me right. But if the owner, so he can't just be doing it for himself, he has to be doing it
Right,
for the entire company, right?
right, right. So
Okay.
now you're probably thinking, as most people are, I'm the owner of this company. I'm the one taking the risk. I want to put money away for my retirement. Well, it's my job as an advisor and the people that I work with, the vendors that I work with, the team members that we have, it's our job to make sure that you have the best plan for your organization. And most times that means how do we get you into the plan? How do we make sure this plan works for you? Okay. Does that make sense? So even though you're managing the plan for the benefit of the participants, we want to make sure that the plan works for you as well. And want to make sure that you're a participant as well, because you get to be a participant.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that said, for many small organizations and many of the organizations that you work with, we sort of use the rules, and I like to say it this way, we use the rules of ERISA and of the tax code to make sure the plan works for the owner of the organization. And so you'll see that, the owner needs to do this. How do we get that done and still follow the rules of ERISA? Right. And as I go through this situation, I've got about 4 plans I want to talk to you about. As we go
Mm-hmm.
through that, then you'll see what I mean. So let's break it. Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
The
Sounds
first
good.
one, okay. First one we want to start off with is the SEP IRA. This is very good for partnerships, very good for a single owner of an organization. It's just him. We have a lot of consultants that do this. It's just them, no one else, right? The great thing about the SEP IRA is that it's pretty much an IRA, right? It acts like an IRA. It feels like an IRA. Looks, smells, tastes like an IRA. The only
Okay.
difference is that in an IRA, you can put away $6,500. But in this plan, you can put away $58,000 up to 25% of your income. Right. So if you
Okay.
make $250,000 a year, you could put away, let's call it $270,000 a year. You could put away $58,000 a year into this account. It's a qualified account. You stick it in there. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to pay taxes on it, so you can reduce your
Mm-hmm.
tax liability. The monies grow what we call tax deferred, which means that
Mm-hmm.
as long as they're in the account, you're not taxed on the gains. You only have to pay tax, and that's regular income tax. You only have to pay regular income tax when you take the money out, and you have to be over the age of 59 and a half to do that.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good deal for folks that are owning their own company, or maybe it's a partner, right? And they split things down the middle. So we see a lot of, like I said, consultants, husband and wife teams, people that only have a couple of partners. We don't see this for large organizations at all, right?
Okay.
And the big reason is you split things up. So if you take 20% of your salary and you put it into a plan, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
want to, then you're obligated to do the same for your participants. So if you have one big SEP for everybody in the organization, let's say you have you and 5 employees.
Okay.
So you put in 20% of your salary, you're going to have to put 20% of the salary in for them. So they make no contributions. It's only an owner contribution, but you have to do the same thing for them that you do for you because you can't discriminate. You see how
Okay.
that discrimination works
Yeah.
there?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So everybody kind of gets the same amount. See how that works?
Okay.
So that's the SEP. And we set a lot of those up for individual employers, people who, like I said, they're one-man shows. Okay. So that's
Okay.
the SEP. Okay. That's where we
Okay.
start. Okay.
Okay.
And it's cheap. It doesn't cost you hardly anything to set up because you're just setting up an IRA with some special paperwork.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the other thing to remember is that while it's easy to get going, once you reach $250,000 a year in the plan, well, actually, no, it's a SEP, so you don't have to worry about that. You can have as much money in their plan as you want. It's fine. It's cool. Okay.
And you just is there a certain time? Is there a schedule that you deposit, or can you just deposit as whenever you want, as long as you get it in before December 31st?
You actually don't have to fund it until your tax filing deadline.
Oh, so you funded like if it's April 15th, or in this case, it's going to be May
Yeah.
17th. That's when you fund it.
Well, as a financial advisor, I'm going to say fund it throughout the year.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But you have until your tax filing deadline to get the cash in.
Oh, so you can go be. Oh, okay. That's actually pretty cool. So, because a lot of times you think if I don't do whatever I'm going to do before December 31st for the previous year, then it's all
Right.
lost. Nothing. I
Right.
can't. If I'm not going to meet with my advisor until the beginning of the year, then it's whatever I did. And if I didn't get it in, too bad for
Right.
me. I just got to wait till the
Right.
next year. So you're saying
Right.
I have actually until the deadline to file my taxes.
Bingo. Bingo.
Oh, that's excellent.
That's very nice, huh? Yeah, it's just an IRA,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of got those IRA rules, right?
Okay.
Okay. The second one that we're going to talk about is the simple IRA.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to just go out on a limb and just say that I am not a fan of simple IRAs. So I'm just going to put that out there. And I'll tell you why. Number one, they're not simple. they have they have rules that you have to follow, and those rules always surprise people. And I think they surprise people because people think that since they're cheap, they ought to be easy. And it's
Mm.
just not the case. So with a simple IRA, they're only for companies that have 100 or few employees. And
Okay.
right, and you can only put away $13,500 unless you're over
Mm.
50, and then you can put another 3,000 in. And as you know, I'm partial to 401ks where you can put in
Mm.
19,500 plus 6,500. Here you're only at
Okay.
13,000 plus 3,000, so you don't get a way to put away. You're not able to put away as much money, and
Okay.
you have to make a match. You have to make a 3% match to your employees, or
Mm-hmm.
you have to pay a 2%, what we call a non-elected contributions, where the employer has to hook the employees up with 2% of their salary. It's pre-tax,
Oh.
pre-tax, but it's still 2%. And then, of course, the 3% is a match. So they put in one, you put in one. They put in two, you put in two. That kind of thing, up to
Okay.
three.
Okay.
So those rules right there. And then along with that, I mean, it's a plan. It's a retirement plan,
Okay.
but you can't have any other retirement plans. So, as you know, I like to combine plans when I can. So, someone has a 401k plan, let's start a profit sharing plan, and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
a pension plan, and then maybe a non qual. We mix things up. Okay.
Okay.
With the simple, there's no mixing. That's the only plan you can have. So, if you're really concerned about helping your folks reach their retirement goal, most financial planners suggest that people put away between 10 and 15% of their salary, right? Well, the simple allows anybody, doesn't matter who you are, only to put away $13,500. So you're really not
Mm.
getting there, right?
Okay.
So if, there are two schools of thought here. The one school is it's cheap. I just need to get something going. I need to tell my employees that I have a plan. They're not going to put very much in it, but at least I'm doing something for them. So there's
Mm-hmm.
that school of thought. The other school of thought would be I just don't want to fool with it and I don't really care about my employees. I just need to have a plan. So here's the plan.
Okay.
And yeah, it's going to cost me 3% of my payroll. So if that's what I got to do, that's what I got to do.
Okay.
So there's the simple. Okay. Let's move on to my favorites, which are, of course, the 401k plan.
Mm-hmm.
So benefits there. Number one, you can put in that 19.5 as an employee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the employer can put in some extra money so you can get up to that 58,000 that we were talking about at the SEP IRA level, right?
Okay.
Right. So we can start with our 19.5 and then we can put in 20 some odd, 30 some odd else other $1,000 for the 58,000. Plus, if you're over 50, in addition to your $19,500, you can put an additional 6,500 in. So if you're an employer and you're really concerned about your employees reaching their retirement goal, this is a great way to go because we can get you up to 20 some odd thousand, $26,000 in
Oh,
one
okay.
year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Right.
just
And that's
employee,
significant.
yeah, and that's employee money. That doesn't even
Okay.
count the employer, but that's employee money. So I can take responsibility for my retirement. I can put in 20 some odd $1,000 a year. Pretty good deal. And it can be pre-tax or it can be after tax, and we know how that
Mm-hmm.
works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great way to go, I think. It's an awesome benefit. Here's the kicker, though. Like we were saying before, this is where ERISA really comes in. This is where it's really important. This is where we're paying attention to the rules. So we've got the testing rules, and we have the non-discrimination rules, and there's some paperwork involved in this. So if you're a plan administrator, that is, you're the person at the office that's responsible for the 401k plan. Lots of times that's the HR person, the dishwasher, and the person that sweeps up the parking lot. If you're that person, you've got some rules to follow. But here's the
Right.
kicker. When we talk about that safe harbor plan, when we talk about that 401k plan, we have to introduce what's called testing. It's really important and it bogs people down, but I'm just going to briefly mention it. Testing. When the Department of Labor set up these plans, back in the 70s, they wanted to make sure that not only wealthy people would be contributing to the plan, they wanted to make sure that people of modest means were able to contribute. So, what they did is they said, okay, owners, we're going to allow you to put this money away, but you've got to educate your employees so that they feel comfortable in the plan. Make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so what that means is the owners had to do their best to make sure the employees knew what was going on. And for some folks, that means to have an education meeting. And I do those where I go out and I talk to
Mm-hmm.
people, or I talk to them on the phone, or I do one-on-ones. So we got to put that policy in. The IRS or the DOL, they don't say how many education meetings you have. They don't say what kind of education meetings you have. They don't even say that you have to have a policy, but they do say you need to educate your participants. Does
Okay.
that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
education
Mm-hmm.
could be sending out email blasts. It could be having meetings. Some advisors have this notion that they have to meet with the group at least once a year, especially before the pandemic. It's not true. You just have to provide some kind of education,
Some
right?
sort of education.
Some
But
sort of
that's which
education.
is good though, wouldn't you say? Because most employees don't quite know how it works. You know, generally, I don't know if the owners or the business owners really articulate it really well why this is a benefit for their employees and how it's helping them in their future. So I guess and that's probably because they don't quite know how it works either. So
Yeah,
having someone come in and actually help articulate it well to the employees is, I think, a good thing. I
I
would
think you're
think.
spot on. I think you're spot on. You definitely don't want to have your plumber come in and talk to people about healthcare, right? So you
No.
want that advisor to come in, and that's what they do. And I spend a lot of time doing that, and I think it's great. I love doing education meetings. I've been doing them my whole career, so I think they're a fantastic way to get those questions out, to answer questions from a place of someone who's got some knowledge rather than just Joe Blow on the street. So they're a good way to go. But we also have to realize as professionals that it takes time to warm up the plant and it takes time to, to shut it down, right? So we have to be cognizant of that. And some employers they want to do a day of education, but that's just not in the works. So we have to get creative with that. But the upshot of this is that depending on how much the employers or the employees put in the plan, right? That determines how much the owner is going to put in the plan. And so the two tests that we're going to concern ourselves with here, there's three of them, but we're going to talk about these two specifically. Is an average deferral test. That is,
Mm-hmm.
what percentage of the income did the employees put in on average
Mm-hmm.
versus the employers, or what we call highly compensated people, which are folks that make over 130,000 a year, or
Mm-hmm.
5% owner. So you've got the owner, him or herself, their family, if they own part of the plan, other folks that own more than 5% of the plan, chief
Mm-hmm.
officers, that kind of thing, and people that make over 130,000 a year. Those are what we call highly compensated. So
Mm-hmm.
that group versus the employee group, uh, their deferral percentages, their average deferral percentages are put through this formula. And if they equal, if there's parity, then life is good. If there is no parity, then the employers and the highly compensated folks, they can only put in 2% above the average of the deferral of the participants. Does that make sense? That's a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so 2% above that. Okay, so they failed the test, right? So lots of
Ah.
times we go into the office, they failed testing. That means there's a limit, considerable limit on how much the highly compensated can put into the plan. Okay, same with average contributions. We actually take the amount of money. If there is no parity between the actual amount of money that the employees put in the plan and that the owners put in the plan, we failed that test.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. Failing the test, it doesn't get you thrown in jail, but it does mean that you're not able to contribute. So then that's a nice segue to the last plan that we want to talk about, which I set up a lot, is the Safe Harbor plan. Safe
Mm.
Harbor 401k plan, Safe Harbor 403b plan. So this is a plan that allows the owners of the group and the highly compensated to put in as much as the employees can put in. So they could put in their 19,500, their catch up 6,500. They get to, enjoy that mark. When we start with profit sharing, we got to
Mm-hmm.
start all over again. But if we're just talking about employee contributions, then you get to satisfy those tests. And what happened was owners went to the government and they said, look, our employees just don't make enough money to equal the amount that we need to put in because we need to save for retirement, us as
Mm.
employers, highly compensated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And or they don't have the will or whatever. So we need a way for us as owners to at least get the contribution amount that we need to put into the plan. And so they came up with the Safe Harbor plan. So what's Safe Harbor? Well, number one, the employees, they're 100% vested. That means that all the money that the employer puts in on their behalf, all the match that they put in on their behalf, that belongs to the
Mm-hmm.
employee right then. There's no vesting schedule. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Number two, the employers have to match up to 4% of the employee's contributions. Right?
Okay.
4%. So if your employer starts a safe harbor plan, he's essentially saying that I'm going to put in at least 4% of my payroll in order for me to get the benefit of contributing the maximum amount that I can. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So it helps the employee out, and it helps the employee out. Okay, so
Yeah.
now,
Let me ask this question. So, in fact, I was just talking to some colleagues of mine the other day, in that in the employer employee world, employees are not sticking around as long as they used to, especially if they're in six-figure increments, right? If they're making six-figure incomes, and I guess it's a mindset in today's world that I can make more money by jumping around every 2 to 3 years, right? So
right.
how is that affected? Because I'm from old school. Old school is, in order to be vested, in order to make enough money for your retirement, you got to stay put for a minute in order to
Yes.
happen. How are you guys addressing that, and how do employers address that in this new world that we're living in, with, especially in the millennial type of age group, because they're the ones that don't believe they should stay put. How do you guys address that?
It's an excellent question. I'm glad you answered it. You asked it. We don't know how. We haven't figured that out because most employers are thinking, look, if I'm going to give you this money and I'm going to spend the time to train you, then I want you to hang around for a while. So they'll say, hey, the beauty of the traditional 401k plan, 401k plan, which we talked about right before Safe Harbor, but the regular 401k plan, the beauty of that is that you can put a vesting schedule on that match, right? You can say, hey, we're going to match you 3% or 4% or 2% or whatever it is. We're going to help you reach your retirement goal, but you can't get it until you fulfill that vesting period. And let's say that vesting period is 6 years. We call it a 6-year vesting period. So you get the first year, you don't get anything. The second year, you get 20%. The third year, 30, and on up to 6 years. So you're putting the money in. All the money that you put in as an employee, that's yours. That's yours. When you leave to go to another organization, you can take it with you, or you can roll it into an IRA. That's your money. The employer money, that match, that extra little bit there, which, by the way, employers are not obligated to do, right? It's not a given that you're going to get a match. Most people get upset because their employer is not matching, and I say to them, it's not your employer's job to make sure you reach your retirement goal. That's your job. That's what happens when you become an adult. You have to plan for retirement. So the match is not automatic, but the employer can say, all right, for the money that I put into this plan for you, I'm going to put a 6-year graded vesting scale on that, which means that you don't get it all to where it's all yours until you've been here for 6 years, right? It's still growing in the market. And if you leave before 6 years, let's say you leave in year 3 and you've got 20% of the money, then you get 20% of that money plus the growth of that. And that goes with you, and you can take that along with your contributions, roll them into another IRA or into an IRA or another 401k if you change jobs. But the rest of that money that the employer put in, that stays with the employer. Now remember, all of the money you put in, that's your money. It can't be taken away from you, right? It's all yours. The employer contribution in that situation, you have to wait for 6 years. Sometimes there's a 3 year, sometimes it's 1 year, but whatever it is, and it's up to the employer to do that.
Right.
Right. So when the millennials come in, what do? Well, they work for 2 years and they leave. So most of the employers I know put a 6-year vested schedule on there, so trying to force them to stay. And I think that's new to the marketplace, or I think the marketplace hasn't reacted to what millennials want. It's just the way it works. So who knows how that's going to change? But it's a great question. I just dealt with that last week. A person was telling me, we want our people to stay. They come in, we train them, and then they leave in a year and a half. We haven't recouped our cost, and the match is gone. So we don't want to do that anymore. Right? So that's how that works. And that covers a really important thing, and that's vesting. Vesting means ownership. So in any of these plans, you are always 100% vested in your money. That is, if you leave the organization, you get to take your money with you, it go wherever you want, 100% vested. When it comes to the employer's money, the match money, that match, or if you get a profit sharing plan, that money has a vesting schedule on it. And that vesting schedule could be 3 years, 1 year. I've never seen anything go past 6 years, but it could happen. And
Okay.
that means you'd have to wait until you can take all of it, but you can always take a portion. It's usually gradual, usually.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah, I
great.
can see that down the line that, obviously when they get to be in their 50s and they're really starting to look toward a retirement, they're going to have to collect all these little pension plans that's kind of been peppered all over the marketplace when
Yeah.
it comes time to retire, and it can be very challenging in their retirement because they really wouldn't have accumulated any large sums of money
Yeah.
at the time of retirement.
Yeah. That, and there's another reason as well, and that is what we've found out is most people tend to manage, if they're going to manage, the plan that's right in front of them. And so if you're working for company ABC, you put money into ABC company's plan and you talk to your
Mm-hmm.
advisor about ABC company and you're on
Mm-hmm.
it with ABC company. If you work for Bill's and Sandra over here and Millie Mae's company, if you work for those three companies before you
Mm-hmm.
got to ABC, you're not really concerned about those companies. Well, one of those companies could have been sold. They put everybody into the money market. Another one of those companies could have decided, oh, we're going to move all these assets into a target date fund, or oh, we're going to move these assets into these funds. We don't like these funds. All that kind of stuff can happen, and you have no say,
Mm.
right?
Right, because you're
You're
no
pretty
longer
much,
part of it.
yeah, you're kind of at the mercy of what they do. So I tell all of the participants I talk to either roll your monies into an IRA, and that way you can control it, or roll it into the 401k at the company where you are, right? That
Mm-hmm.
way you can manage it. And of course, I like to talk about risk tolerance, but that way
Right.
you can take your risk tolerance one time and have the account set up so that you know exactly where your money is set. Because you don't want to have 50% of your savings out here running willy nilly. You want to manage all of that. And most of us don't
Right.
have the bandwidth to look at 5 or 6 different accounts. We can barely
Right.
do just one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that just when I was having that conversation I think I was having that conversation on Friday, and because I've been in the entrepreneur world for such a long time that I really, don't think about those kind of things. And most of my clients are, kind of solopreneurs, and they may have one or two employees and they haven't quite gotten to which they should be at this point, talking about retirement for themselves. And I was just talking to a couple of friends of mine that are in corporate America, and I was like, wow, that's an issue. That could be definitely an issue for both
it's
the
a,
employer and the
yeah,
employee.
it is an issue. And that's why I think, on the other hand, we've got the value of the SEP IRA, right? So, if you're an independent contractor, right,
Mm.
and you only want to work 6 months and then go travel, or maybe 2 years or do a project, or maybe you want to work for multiple employers during the year, right? You want to make sure you
Mm-hmm.
don't have all your eggs in one basket. The SEP IRA is a great way to go, right? Because you can just take some of those monies that you get from the employers, put those into the SEP IRA. The SEP IRA doesn't care where the money comes from, right? As
Mm-hmm.
long as it's employee, as long as you're not gifted it or you won it in Vegas, they just want that money to come from an employer. And you put that money into that SEP IRA. Now the employer's like, I don't need to give you benefits because you're not going to be here that long, right? The
Oh, and
employee
that's a
says,
better decision.
right, and then the
Mm.
employee puts money away, and they've got that contractor sort of entrepreneurial spirit, but they can still
Right.
contribute that $58,000 to their plan. They're still not being hurt by being
Mm.
an entrepreneur. So it's good to talk to somebody about it. And now I throw those numbers around a lot: 58,000, 19,000, 20,000. Who got that kind of money? That's a lot of
Right.
money.
Yes, it
So
is.
if you start the SEP IRA and you can only put in $3,000 this year, that's great. You don't. The 58,000 is a maximum. Right? It's not certainly not a minimum. So if you can only put away $500 a month, that's where you're starting out. Fine, that's great. The thing is to start. You don't have to put
Yeah.
tons of money in, and you'll be surprised how compound interest can help your money grow, and how if you're getting involved with it and pay attention, you can weather some of the storms. About with regard to what's going on. Let me read your bio once more, and then we can
All
finish up
righty.
with some last minute
Don't be that
questions.
guy.
Yeah, don't be that.
My
Yeah.
favorite,
Don't be
my
that guy.
favorite segment of the day is "Don't be that guy."
Indeed, indeed. Okay, here we go. So, thank you everyone for coming to the show, and we want to make sure we welcome my friend and colleague Crystal Mitchell. Crystal is a business coach and consultant, CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's also the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, and I believe you're actually starting another group, and you can talk about that if you want to, maybe in a later show. She's co-host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, a weekly online radio show. That other show.
That other show.
That other show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. She's also a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Welcome, Crystal Mitchell. Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
And then, of
it
course,
is.
there's
And it just seems like I have so many things in the pot, but you do know that they all kind of work close together, right?
no, I was gonna say they're all different, man. You're just you don't even sleep. Just keep
Well,
going.
they all kind of
Like the
integrate
Energizer
into
Bunny.
doing what my passion is. Yours is business owners as well, but mine is making sure that those business owners are ready so that I can refer them over to you because they
Hey,
got all they ducks in the row over on this side. I help them get into that mode for thinking retirement.
yeah.
And then, but they got to make sure their foundations is in place. So that's kind of how all of that works together, is making sure they're ready to come over to the financial retirement advisor, and they got some money in the bank that you can then advise them on where to go with
It's
it.
so true. And I think folks like myself, we're incredibly indebted to folks like yourself because you can actually tell somebody you have enough money to save for retirement, right?
Yeah.
You can have that discussion so that when they come to me, I don't have to have that discussion that says, well, I have my kids this and my that and my da 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 da. You can actually help people with that concept of self care, help people with
Mm-hmm.
that concept of it's my responsibility, help that people with that concept of okay, we need to take a balanced approach to our finances with regard to where we put the money. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
important as well, right? I have to take care of myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the job that you do with regard to getting entrepreneurs, quote unquote, ready is invaluable because if they don't get a chance to talk to someone like yourself, then they never get there, and then they come to me in their 70s and say, "Okay, I need a retirement plan." Well, that's a little tough.
Right, exactly. So we're trying to get them there before they
Early.
get to that time. And this pandemic that we have experienced in our last year of the 2020 has really heightened and opened a lot of our clients' mindsets and our small business owners realizing, one, you got to be ready for everything, and that there are programs out there that can help prepare you for everything, right? But
Right.
you have to be aware of what they are. And so the more that they're hearing individuals like yourself in the financial consulting industry, that will help them because they just were like in business, and so all those other pieces didn't quite fit in that puzzle of theirs, and now they're realizing I need to be ready, because some of them actually will have found themselves like, I just might as well retire now because my business is it. If they weren't ready to pivot, and didn't have a
Right.
pivoting idea sitting on the back burner, then they
Right.
had to look at other options,
Yeah.
and some of them just like, you know what, maybe it's time just to close the doors and move forward. So, there will
Mhm.
be another pandemic, and everybody needs to be ready, both on a
Yeah.
personal side and a business side.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. That's probably, things we want to talk about rather with a future show, but I can't emphasize enough the plan. You have to have a plan. That is the
Hmm.
deal. And as much as you can't plan for everything, you need to plan for the things you can control.
Hmm.
You can handle, and you'd be surprised at how once you have a plan, you can be flexible and make things work for you. But you got to have a plan.
You got to
Okay.
have a plan. You got to have a different plan. So, during the time when we were on hiatus, one of the things my sister and I, my family and I, we went to Cancun. So, newly incorporated into our plan is how do we spend 6 months in California and then the other 6 months living on a beach, because it was awesome, Jevon. It was
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I tell you, don't leave me out. If you figure that plan out, I want to know about it. That sounds like a good idea. A good idea. Yeah,
Yeah, it
there's no
was pretty
shame in my
awesome.
game. I like that. That
You
that
like that
sounds
idea,
good.
right? Being able
I
to
do.
live at home, but then have a island retreat somewhere. You can
Yeah.
still do a little
Yeah.
bit of work, but a little island retreat somewhere.
Exactly. And with the new uh, what is it, virtual economy that we have going on, there's a lot of people taking advantage of that. There's some of us
Yeah.
old school people who think, oh, we got to go see you, but lots of my customers don't want to see me. I mean, they want to hear me and talk to me, but they don't mind if I'm someplace else. So
I think, I'm contemplating a book on COVID silver linings, and I'm
there you
writing
go.
out the outline, and that's going to be one of the chapters. Is maybe now is a good time to rethink that, because I don't know if about for you, but virtual has been phenomenal for me.
Oh, good for
It,
you.
it has given me and exposed me to and introduced me to other people and different ways of doing business, and it has
Mhm.
really worked for me.
Oh, that's great.
And I have not missed a beat in this in last year nor this year. So definitely something to think about for the future, because they don't necessarily, you don't have to be in your office. You don't have to go to your office and meet them either. You can be
Yeah,
sitting on the beach having a
very
little
true.
a little
Something,
strawberry
something.
margarita. Just keep it
It's
out the framework of the video.
yeah. And I have to say that many of my clients are feeling the same way. That when the need to be creative came, they were able to answer that call. But I also have many clients that were not able to do that. Their business is built on face to face communications, and they're just not. Excuse me. They're just not as effective, or they
Hmm.
just can't do it. If you're a plumber, it's kind of tough not to go to someone's house to
Right,
fix
exactly.
their sink, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
but still, there's a need for that business owner, right? Because even though you're at
right,
home, the plumbing can still go out, and you just have to
exactly.
make sure that
Yeah,
there's some, protection between you and that person that's coming into your home. So they actually, and then the other part of the COVID lining is that silver lining is, look how many people decided to do remodeling and things like that in their home, because now they're in their homes and they're seeing that they're not functioning as well as they should be functioning. So a lot of home restoration was done during this time frame and still being done.
yeah.
Just again, being prepared, having a plan for
Hmm.
all aspects of your life, and definitely your business life, I think is most important. And I like the fact that you always are encouraging people to have a plan.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But you just brought up another reason why a plan is a good thing, and that is if you have a plan, it seems to me that when opportunities come, you have the chance to pivot and do something different. And I'll tell you the fundamental of that, and maybe we could say this is the don't be that guy section of of our show.
Okay.
And I would say that the don't be that guy is the guy that, number one, only invest in his 401k. Right. So, there are lots of folks, they have these categories. They've got a Thursday night to do this, Wednesday night to do that. They've got things set up, but their major investment vehicle is their 401k. That's what they do. So the problem with that is that you rely upon your 401k for when you retire, but when you need the money, that's where you go to get it, right? So the real benefit of the 401k plan is that you get to take advantage of market upturns and downturns if you do it right. You get to take advantage of
Mm-hmm.
what we call compound interest, making money
Mm-hmm.
upon your money. Well, if you take your money out of the market, it's very difficult to do that, right? It's very difficult to make money on your money when it's not in the market. So, as a financial advisor, and most of the folks on my team, we suggest that people throughout their working career get about 8 to 9 months of income of bills that they need to pay, save that up. Now, many folks will say, Jevon, there's no way I can afford to put $19,000 away, and and I certainly can't save up $20,000 for 6 months of living expenses. So I might as well just go and have some coffee somewhere.
Right.
And I'm going to say, don't think like that. I'm going to say, you can build this, right? That's the goal
Mm-hmm.
that you're getting to. So if it's going to take you 5 years to save up that 20K, that's fine. If it's going to take you 10 years to get to $19,000, that's fine. But you want
Mm-hmm.
to start on those plans and have that so that when that pandemic hits, you can deal with it. And when
Mm-hmm.
you think, oh, I want to invest in something really interesting that's not available in my 401k plan, we can talk about that in a minute, but something that's not available in my 401k plan, now I've got some money where I might be able to do that with it. So have a little bit of money set aside, have that safety net, and then
Mm-hmm.
have that 401k plan. And if you're not there, don't beat yourself up. Just put together a plan to get there. Maybe it's only 5 or 10 or $20 a week or a month or whatever it is, but just start on that so that you have a little bit. And as time goes on, you'll find, oh, I have some money there. I'm going to be okay. Because many of my clients, when this pandemic hit them, they just had that money in the 401k plan. They weren't old enough to take it out, and they got hit with having to pay those bills. So thank goodness the CARES Act came, and
Yeah.
that softened things up, right? And people got
Yeah.
the PPP, so that helped with things. But you got to wait and hope that that's going to happen, and that didn't happen in 2007. People were just out of jobs, and that was just
Yeah.
tough.
2007, and it wasn't. And it was a different crisis, so it was really geared around, well, first of all, it was self imploded. So there were, I think the stimulus was $1,200 at one time, but this one,
Mm-hmm.
being that it was worldwide, was definitely a different thing than 2007. In 2007 was really kind of a domino effect. I think it was more the real estate and the mortgage industry, big banking industry, that really created a domino effect for other people, and all the other people, and then the people lost their houses. But they're still on the other side of this pandemic. There's some casualties that definitely is going to take place once we get past, the imminent danger of the pandemic itself, then the fallout from that.
Right.
And I think that's what President Biden is trying to shore up. And then it also woke us up to, the vast disparity between the very rich and the very, very poor. And we've actually created a class system in this country. And but the problem, I think, is that even though the poor, you still get affected if you have a country that has a large a percentage of poor people, because there's just no circulation of economics, right? There's a circulation of money just stops, and then that affects all of us. You, me, the least amount of money flowing through a system, the cash flow of a world, is very damaging to everybody to trying to do business.
It's so true. I could not have
Mm-hmm.
agreed with you more. One of my favorite expression is M1 equals M3 times, uh, I think it's times money times M1, or M3 times M3 equals M1 times time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And what it actually means is that the money flow in the country is equal to the money that you get from your paycheck, let's say, and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff, times the amount of times it circulates in the country. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily about the amount of money that you have in the economy. It's certainly not that, right? That does me
Mm-mm.
no good having money in the economy. But if I know that I've got money coming, and that I can, and it's going to recirculate through the economy. Now I can
Mm-hmm.
make loans and I can do all kinds of things. And as we progress here, we'll see how money stays in a community and how it doesn't, and where it stays, and that has a lot to do with building wealth as well. And when you take the ability of people not to invest in their own community, not to invest for themselves, when you take that away, you actually relegate those folks to a very poor standing in your economy, and we see that reflected when we talk about
Exactly. My
the programs.
nonprofit, that's what we deal with, is making sure that our small business community, that our consumers and our small business community are coming together to support these small businesses so that the money continue to circulate, because it's vastly important for the school system, the healthcare system, the political system. All of that is all banked upon money constantly moving, and that's what money is supposed to be for. Is not for it to be socked away. It's supposed to be recirculated
Moving.
back in,
Yeah.
just like blood. I call, my the core of my business is accounting, and when I talk to my business owners, the cash flowing through your business is the oxygen and blood, equivalent to the oxygen and blood flowing through the body.
Oh, great way
Without
to look at
that,
that.
that's it, right? So
Yeah.
your company, your business has to have money flowing through it, and which is your oxygen and the blood that keeps your business alive. And then, in a bigger scale, bigger picture, keeps the economy alive. So all
Right.
of us
Right.
are part of that ecosystem. Right,
Right.
you are part of that
Right.
ecosystem, making sure once you leave the workforce, now you can still continue to participate in the cash flow of and the money flow in in the country that you live in, that it just doesn't stagnate because you've retired, and then you can still live. So it's our lifeblood, it's our oxygen, it's what we breathe.
You are so right. I think the terms that you use are excellent in that situation. And you're probably teaching a college class now, because most people don't really understand that it's that flow of the money that is really important to banks being able to loan, people being able to get money, paychecks being able to get paid, mortgages getting paid. It's all about the flow. And if you don't
Mm-hmm.
understand that and you don't know how to manipulate that, then
Mm-hmm.
you're in trouble. You're in trouble. But that's not the meat. That's not about this class. This
It's just
this
but it's all
presentation.
part of it. So we just,
Yes,
and
for
these are the
sure.
conversations we have on our patio. It's just, you're discussing how all of it, how it affects all of us on a bigger scale. So but we're very, Jevon is a very consummated financial advisor, and making sure that life after retirement is just as great as life before retirement, right, Jevon? Oh, did we lose you? Or did I lose you? And okay. I don't know if it was me or you that froze. There you
Oh,
go.
I think I disappeared.
Yeah, you did. You did a magic trick.
Yeah, yeah. So I just want to say it was An absolute pleasure. I didn't get to hear your last comment, though.
I just basically said that it's just we just want to make sure that people are looking at the future, and these are the conversations that people would be having on the patio, looking at their future, looking at what life looks like after retirement, and that life is not too much different from before retirement, and you're making sure that they have a plan so that it does look the same, or if not better after retirement. You should be healthy to travel, to live your life, to play in your garden, to play with whatever you want to do, whatever you've envisioned your retirement to look like, you should be able to have that opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much. I'd love to end on that, but I gotta get a little bit more zing when it comes to don't be that guy. And in this
Okay.
instance, that guy is one trick pony, right? So you have to put a little bit of money away for what you're going to invest in. Put a little bit of money away for emergencies, 6 months to 8 months. Contribute to your 401k as much as you can, and just start that program. Don't wait until you have enough money and think that you're going to get there. And the last thing I would say is you cannot invest your way into retirement. You have to save. So I'll leave you with that. You have to save. You cannot invest your way into retirement. You got to save. So with that, I think we're done.
I think that was an excellent way to end. You can't invest your way in, you have to save.
You got to save. You got to save. Well,
Well,
Crystal, thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
it has been awesome, and wow, some great pearls of wisdom and nuggets were shared today.
We did. I think we are gurus there. We must.
I
We
think
certainly
so.
are. Thanks for joining me. It's always a pleasure. Can't wait to see you again on Monday, and then we'll leave. Shall I read your bio one more time, and before we sign off?
No, no, we'll let it come. Let them.
Let it go. Okay.
Yeah, we'll let
So
it go.
again, okay. So thank you, Crystal, my friend and colleague. And I'm Jevon Thomas, and we will see you next time on Conversations on the Patio with Crystal and Jevon. Bye,
Have a
y'all.
good have a good week, everyone. See you next week.